How long do you think have you been a member of First Presbyterian Church?
It has to be about 52, 53, 54 years, something like that. When my husband and I were married, we first attended the Baptist church here in Elgin. And we were very happy there. There was no problem or anything. But because I was a Presbyterian by birth, a cradle Presbyterian, well, I kind of decided I'd like to come back to the Presbyterian church. And so we did, and we joined, and that had to be about 1960 or 61, something like that.
Church, I think, is the day my second son was baptized in October of 1951. I don't remember the exact date, but it was that October, I know that. I married a member of the church, and my mother said, if your husband is going to be active in the church, I think you should join the church with him. And if he's not, then you stay in the church you are, which I was raised in a Methodist church here in Elgin. And he was active, and I knew he would be, so I did join that church, and that's why.
It was Easter Sunday, and Diane Dildy, my cousin, and Mike Beerley, the pastor's son, and I joined the same day. We had some classes. About a month before that, we'd had some kind of confirmation classes or something they called them. We met like 1 hour a day for a month, I think is what it was. With Pastor Beerley, Mike's dad was our teacher, of course. And I knew it was time for me to join because my grandmother had been on to me for a year or two before that, telling me it was time to go down front. She didn't say it was time to join the church. She said it was time to go down front.
Okay. Do you remember the year that you joined?
I do remember the year I joined. It was in 1965. I'm thinking the latter part of the year.
And you kept the bulletin from that
I did
worship
keep the bulletin
service.
for that. It was a very laid back, if you will, congregation. Everyone just opened their arms to us, even though we had, as I said, visited some other churches. It was just something about that one that would always draw us back. We felt that was probably our home.
And what was the church like when you joined?
It was small in numbers. The congregation was small. Off the top of my head, I don't remember who the minister was, but it was a very friendly and very welcoming community of believers.
And that's why. And he was so active that he had a Sunday school class that was so small that they met in his pickup truck. If there were like only 2 students there, they met inside the cab.
Wow.
If there were more, then they met in the bed of the truck.
Oh
and
my
he
God.
always took them to Dairy Queen or somewhere on the highway. I guess it's Dairy Queen, the first fast food thing there was there. After they had the Bible lesson, they went to this to get a drink or ice cream or something. But he always got them back in time for church.
And you served as an elder
As the elder and a deacon.
and a deacon.
And yes, and I have been ordained as both an elder and as the deacon of the church.
Do you remember?
Well, I first became an elder in the 1980s. I was in my 30s. And I served 2 terms, which is 6 years. And then I knew it was time for me to go off, at least for a year. And the committee, the nominating committee, said, "Oh no, you've only served 3 years. You can serve 3 more years." And I didn't want to argue with him, so I said, okay, I'll serve 3 more years. So in reality, I served 9 consecutive years with no break. And towards the end of my term, one of the people on that committee said, "Oh, you were right. We did check the records, and you had served 6 years consecutive." So I broke the law and was an elder for 9 consecutive years. Then they let me quit. They let me off for a year or 2. And then I came back on again as an elder, and I served, 3 or 6 years, I can't remember. Then I went off for a year, and then I went to the deacons, and then I've been off and on the deacons ever since. When I was an elder, we did not have elders and deacons. We had elders only. So that's been the change since the 1980s. Is we only had one governing board, now we have 2.
We always made sure that the children had a part in the service in the church. At Christmas time, the programs were so enjoyable, and
The Christmas ones were always real meaningful to me, I think. And we had the candlelight services, walked out with the candles burning, and that was really impressive.
Okay, tell me about the church picnic.
Okay, we used to have church picnics quite often. And one time we went, I think it was to John Knox Ranch, and had a church picnic. And I had taken a carton of boiled eggs to serve, as well as other things. And we got there, and Maddie Smith, that's Sarah Jane's mother, picked one up and cracked it, and it was not cooked.
And one time, I hadn't made my cookies. I do bake, but I bought some store-bought cookies. And I felt a little guilty about it because they said bring homemade cookies, and I brought store-bought cookies. And Frances Fainer told me how good my cookies were. And I said, "Oh, thank you very much." I didn't tell her. They came out of a package from the store. She thought I'd made them, but a little lie there, I guess.
What other commandments have you broken, Sarah?
All of them today. All of them today.
About the music, when back in the day.
What I recall about the congregational singing in the church was that many times we did not have anybody to play the piano or the organ, and we did have both instruments, but we didn't have a full-time organist or someone to play the piano. But I do remember that no matter what, we always had great congregational singing. The minister would lead, and we would sing, and the windows were wide open, and anybody walking along the street in front of our church would hear music coming from the First Presbyterian Church.
we've always had wonderful music, and we have wonderful music, of course, now. I have a friend that goes to the, at that time, was in Elgin and went to the Church of Christ, and she used to tell me, she said, "Oh, I know you all had a wonderful service. We could hear you all the way up," because we had our windows open, and I'm sure they did too.
Stand up for Jesus. It was kind of like a gospel hymn or something like that. We just sang all those good old songs.
Can you sing a piece of it?
Oh, I can't sing anymore at all. But
You're such a... What's the genesis story of the choir?
okay, again, we Al Guerrero was here, and he was very much interested in getting a choir started, and so there was one lady that came from Austin to practice with us, and then we got Sidna Arbuckle to come and practice with us, and so we just limped along. And then that fall, when school started, I noticed in the paper that there was a new music teacher in town for the primary and elementary school levels, and that lady's name was Sarah Homerstead. And so I went to talk to her and just asked her if by chance she would consider coming to our church and playing the piano. We had nobody to play anything for us, and to maybe work with us a little bit with the choir. And she said, I would be glad to. So I took that information back to Wilfred Galbraith and to the session, and they just signed her up right then. And so Sarah Homerstead, and that's been, 30 years ago or more. Anyway, Sarah Homerstead started, and she was with us for many years full-time, and I'm happy to say she still is with us part-time.